A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark, chapter 5, verses 21 to 43. The passage is taken from the Message version of the Bible. After Jesus crossed over by boat, a large crowd met him at the seaside. One of the meeting place leaders named Jairus came. When he saw Jesus, he fell to his knees, beside himself as he begged, "My dear daughter is at death's door. Come and lay hands on her, so she will get well and live." Jesus went with him, the whole crowd tagging along, pushing and jostling him. A woman who had suffered conditions of hemorrhaging for 12 years, a long succession of physicians had treated her, and treated her badly, taking all her money and leaving her worse off than before, had heard about Jesus. She slipped in from behind and touched his robe. She was thinking to herself, "If I can put a finger on his robe, I can get well." The moment she did it, the flow of blood dried up. She could feel the change and knew her plead was over and done with. At the same moment, Jesus felt energy discharging from him. He turned around to the crowd and asked, "Who touched my robe?" His disciples said, "What are you talking about? With this crowd pushing and jostling you? You're asking, 'Who touched me?' Dozens have touched you." But he went on asking, looking around to see who had done it. The woman, knowing what had happened, knowing she was the one, stepped up in fear and trembling, knelt before him, and gave him the whole story. Jesus said to her, "Daughter, you took a risk of faith, and now you're healed and whole. Live well, live blessed, be healed of your plague." While he was still talking, some people came from the leader's house and told him, "Your daughter is dead. Why bother the teacher anymore?" Jesus overheard what they were talking about and said to the leader, "Don't listen to them. Just trust me." He permitted no one to go in with him except Peter, James, and John. They entered the leader's house and pushed their way through the gossips, looking for a story and neighbors bringing in casseroles. Jesus was aroused. "Why all this busybody, grief, and gossip? This child is in death. She's sleeping." Provoked to sarcasm, they told him he didn't know what he was talking about. But when he had sent them all out, he took the child's father and mother, along with his companion, and entered the child's room. He clasped the girl's hand and said, "Talika kum," which means, "Little girl, get up." At that, she was up and walking around. The girl was 12 years of age. They, of course, were all beside themselves with joy. He gave them strict orders that no one was to know what had taken place in this room. Then he said, "Give her something to eat." The Gospel of the Lord.
Let us now listen to a reflection on the Holy Gospel according to Mark, chapter 5, verses 21 to 43. Touch and be saved. Blessed Gabriele Maria Allegra was a Franciscan priest who came to China in 1931 and was in pursuit of his aspiration to translate the Bible into Chinese. He moved to Hong Kong in 1948 and continued with his work on the translation. In 1968, the first complete version of the translated Catholic Chinese Bible was published in Hong Kong and Greater China. As a result, he has come to be known as Saint Jerome of China. Today's Gospel tells us of two women. As Jesus continues his assault on death, he admonishes the people for their pretentious groaning and mourning. He is totally dissatisfied with the culture of death, which stems from the belief that death is the ultimate end. And this is why he says, "The child is not dead but asleep." The first woman has had a blood loss for 12 years. According to the law, a blood flow makes a person impure. She cannot generate life. And the second woman, the 12-year-old daughter of Jairus, is of marriageable age, but in her life is interrupted. She is dead. The number 12 in these two instances is not a coincidence. It refers to the 12 tribes, the whole of Israel. These two women represent Israel. Israel, although the bride of the Lord, abandoned her husband and became impure. Israel is like the dead little girl, cannot generate life. This woman believes in Jesus and says, "If I succeed even to touch his mantle, I will be saved." Her act of touching Jesus is likened to Israel falling into the hands of her husband. She is made pure and is given a new life. In the Eucharist, we have the opportunity to touch him. In the lives of all the people around us, we have the chance to touch the image of God. To be saved, all we need to do is to touch him in the sacraments, in the Word of God, and in the lives of people around us.